This week, Wine Spectator has been releasing its top 10 wines of 2025, and the wine of the year was just released today. So in this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts about each of these 10 wines. Of course, when considering a list like this, it's always important to consider the criteria that are being used in the selection process. And here, there's 4 factors that were particularly important to Wine Spectator. The first factor is quality. Each of the wines included in the Wine Spectator Top 100 has to have a minimum score of 90 points from Wine Spectator to be eligible. Wine Spectator also took into account price, or the relative price to quality ratio of these wines when assembling its list. They also found it significant that the wine was widely available, and more specifically, they wanted to make sure that it was widely available in the United States. Wine Spectator also took into account something that they called an X factor. By this, they mean that there's an interesting backstory about the wine or something special about either the wine or the producer that generates some excitement. With that by way of background, I'll go through each of the wines in Wine Spectator's top 10, starting with number 10 and finishing with the wine of the year. First up is a wine that seems to have benefited from the X factor criteria used by Wine Spectator in its selection process. Isabel Ferrando had a career in finance, but she decided to leave all that behind and to become a winemaker. Her first vintage was way back in 2003. Since that time, her daughter has joined the business, and together they helped to produce a wine that came in at number 10 in Wine Spectator's Top 100 Wines of 2025. This wine is the 2022 Isabel Ferrando Chateauneuf-du-Pape. This is wine that sells for around $100 per bottle, perhaps a little bit more in the United States, and it received a 94-point score from Wine Spectator. This wine is a blend that consists of Grenache, Syrah, Cinsault, and Mourvedre, and it comes from one of the hottest, driest parts of Chateauneuf-du-Pape. Nevertheless, this wine has surprising elegance and finesse. You can expect flavors and aromas of cherry, plum, garrigue, and mixed spice. I definitely agree with Wine Spectator's decision regarding wine number 9. In fact, this is a wine that I enjoy so much that I featured it on my channel back in August. James Suckling is also a fan, as this wine was number 14 on Mr. Suckling's Top 100 Wines of 2025. This is a wine that Wine Spectator gave a 95-point score. While they say it sells for $90 per bottle, you'll definitely want to shop around, as I found it selling for much less than that. Here are my thoughts regarding this outstanding wine. Located in Gaioli in Chianti, Castello d'Ama is situated on a scenic site with stunning views, extremely rocky soils, and high elevation. Specifically, it's located around 500 meters above sea level. These conditions help to ensure naturally low yields and make for some impressive concentrated expressions of Sangiovese. I had a chance to visit this winery back in September, and in addition to having some impressive artwork throughout the estate, they made some of the best wines that I tasted during my trip. My favorite was the Castello d'Ama San Lorenzo Chianti Classico Gran Selezione. The 2021 vintage is on store shelves now, and it's extremely highly acclaimed, and justifiably so. This is an extremely impressive wine with tremendous purity of fruit and flavors and aromas that include blackberry, black cherry, and violets. There's ample acidity and a long, complex finish. This is definitely a wine that would be better in a few years, so it's going to be best to try to keep your hands off it and try to check in on it maybe in 2027 or 2028. It's dominant in Sangiovese, but they do include a little bit of Merlot in the blend as well. Coming in at number 8 in the Wine Spectator Top 100 for 2025 is the Wayfarer Fort Ross Seaview Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir, which comes from this producer's namesake estate vineyard. This is a wine that received a 95-point score from Wine Spectator and sells for right around $100 per bottle. Interestingly, the Wayfarer vineyard was planted way back in 2002 by prominent Napa Valley vineyard manager David Abreu. This is apparently the only Sonoma vineyard that David Abreu has planted. Previously, the fruit from this vineyard was added to fruit from other sites and blended together to make the Paulmeyer Pinot Noir. That all changed beginning with the 2012 vintage, at which point they bottled the fruit from this wine separately under this label. This is a wine that features flavors and aromas of cherry, plum, floral notes, and mixed spice. There's ample acidity and a long finish. This is a wine that will benefit from another year or two in the bottle, and it's also an age-worthy wine. In fact, earlier this year, I enjoyed the inaugural vintage, and it was still showing extremely well. The number 7 wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100 comes from one of my favorite producers, and it's a producer for which I have numerous bottles in my cellar. This wine received a 94-point score from Wine Spectator, and the listed selling price is $57 per bottle. While Produttori del Barbaresco is a cooperative, it's very much a quality-minded cooperative. They ensure quality by requiring all their members to sell 100% of their fruit to the cooperative and adjusting prices annually based on the quality of the fruit. Collectively, the Produttori del Barbaresco cooperative controls about 1/3 of all the planted vineyards in Barbaresco, including many of the most prestigious parcels. This wine used to be an absolute screaming value. In fact, the 2016 vintage was an extremely high-quality vintage, and back then the wine was selling for around $40 per bottle in the United States, and I could even find some in Italy at around 25 euros per bottle. The 2021 vintage is also a very strong vintage, but the price has definitely gone up and is now around $55 per bottle or so in the United States. Nevertheless, this is an excellent wine that still offers tremendous relative value compared to other top examples of Barolo and Barbaresco. This is a wine that features flavors and aromas of cherry, rose petals, earth, and spice. There's ample acidity and some prominent tannins, especially in its youth. This is definitely a wine that will benefit from some additional age, and it should cruise in your cellar for up to 15 years or so. Coming in at number 6 in the Wine Spectator Top 100 list for 2025 is a wine from a producer that's been making extremely high-quality red blends for many years. The fruit for this wine comes from the prestigious Apalta area in Chile's Colchagua Valley. Apalta is particularly well suited for the production of high-quality red wine because it's located in an amphitheater of sorts, and as such, it has ideal sun exposure, and the fruit that's produced there is able to get consistently ripe year after year. The 2021 Clos Apalta received a 96-point score from Wine Spectator, but it did even better with Mr. Suckling, who gave it a perfect 100-point score. This is a wine that's dominant in Carmenere, which makes up around 3/4 of the blend, and there's also smaller amounts of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. If you haven't tried this wine before, you can expect a variety of red and black fruit, bell pepper, and mixed herbs and spice. While it certainly has the capacity to age for up to 2 decades with no problem at all, it's also extremely well balanced and approachable with polished tannins, so you can also enjoy it young. While Wine Spectator lists the price as $170 per bottle, I found it selling for $140 or so definitely shop around for this one as well. Bordeaux had a phenomenal vintage in 2022, so it's no surprise that a Bordeaux was included in Wine Spectator's top 10 list. Located on Bordeaux's right bank in Saint-Emilion, Beau-Sejour Becot made arguably the best wine it has ever produced in the 2022 vintage. This wine received a 96-point score from Wine Spectator and sells for around $85 per bottle, but it was also extremely well received by all the other major critics who reviewed it as well. This wine is a blend that consists of 75% Merlot, 22% Cabernet Franc, and there's also a splash of Cabernet Sauvignon. This wine is intensely aromatic, with flavors and aromas that include mixed red and black fruit, crushed stone, violets, mixed spice, and much more. This is a wine that will definitely benefit from a few additional years of bottle age, and it will age effortlessly for 25 years or more. Selyem started out as a mere hobby for 2 neighbors back in the 1970s, but ultimately they went on to become one of the most prominent producers of California Pinot Noir. Wine Spectator loves them some Selyem. For the second year in a row, the Selyem Eastside Road neighbors, Russian River Valley Pinot Noir finished in the Wine Spectator Top 10. Last year, this wine finished number 8. This year, The 2023 vintage finished number 4 on the Wine Spectator Top 10. This wine received a 96-point score from Wine Spectator, and the listed price is $72 per bottle. This wine is unmistakably Californian. It's made in a fruit-forward style and features flavors and aromas of cherry, raspberry, blackberry, citrus, earth, and mushroom. There's fine-grained tannins and ample acidity. This is a wine that will definitely benefit from a couple of years of additional bottle age, and you should be able to enjoy it over the next 9 to 10 years thereafter. Next up is a wine from a historic California producer. This is a wine that I probably purchased for the first time almost 20 years ago, and it's a consistently reliable choice. This wine received a 95-point score from Wine Spectator, and the list price is $56 per bottle. So certainly some relatively strong QPR for this wine. So coming in at number 3 in the Wine Spectator Top 100 list for 2025 is the Ridge Lytton Springs Dry Creek Valley. The majority of the fruit for this vineyard was planted way back in the early 1900s in Dry Creek Valley in Sonoma County. This wine is a blend that consists of around 3/4 Red Zinfandel, and there's also some Petit Syrah and some Carignan. This wine features flavors and aromas of blackberry, cherry, earth, floral notes, and mixed spice. It has impressive freshness for a wine from Dry Creek Valley. While you can enjoy this wine young with a healthy decant and some barbecue, it will definitely benefit from some additional bottle age, and I tend to enjoy this wine around 10 years of age, which is probably much older than most. But this wine with some substantial age on it actually gets a little bit more like a mature Cabernet Sauvignon. Marc Aubert learned how to make wine from the legendary Helen Turley. Almost since inception, Aubert has been a leading producer of California Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. 2023 was an absolutely phenomenal vintage in Sonoma County, and Wine Spectator has absolutely picked up on that theme, as the number 2 wine is already the 4th wine in the top 10 for Wine Spectator this year. Coming in at number 2 in the Wine Spectator Top 10 list this year is the Aubert UVSL Vineyard Sonoma Coast Chardonnay. This wine received a 96-point score from Wine Spectator, and the list price is $100 per bottle. The vineyard that produces this wine is located just 6 miles from the Pacific Ocean. As the name suggests, it was planted by top vineyard manager Ulysses Valdez Sr., who unfortunately has passed away. Aubert makes a Chardonnay that can overwhelm your senses like few wines can, in a very positive way. While you certainly can enjoy this wine young, I tend to enjoy them with some additional bottle age, often between years 5 and 8 after harvest. Just be careful though, as this wine does have a relatively high alcohol by volume percentage. The Wine Spectator Wine of the Year for 2025 is a wine that received a 95-point score from Wine Spectator and which has a list price of $68 per bottle. This is a wine that comes from a producer that I've featured many times on this channel, and I'm a big fan of it. The wines offer extreme quality for the price. This wine also fared extremely well with all the other major critics who reviewed it. 2022 was a phenomenal vintage in Bordeaux. It was a very warm vintage, so the wines are a little bit approachable young, but they also have tremendous age-worthiness. This is a wine that comes from the Margaux appellation, and this producer is a third growth in the 1855 classification of Bordeaux. This wine is a blend that consists of 64% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Merlot, and there's smaller amounts of Petit Verdot and Cabernet Franc. This wine features flavors and aromas of blackcurrant, violet, graphite, and mixed spice. This is a wine that you can enjoy a little bit on the younger side, but it will certainly benefit from a few years of additional bottle age, and it will cruise in your cellar for up to 15 to 20 years post-vintage. This is the 2022 Chateau Giscou. What do you think of the Wine Spectator Top 10 list this year? Do you like their selection for Wine of the Year? Let me know in the comments below. As mentioned earlier, James Suckling also recently released his Top 100 Wines for 2025. If you'd like to know more about his Top 100 list, please be sure to check out this video that's linked above.